This is the Charter School Broadcasting System, the leader in charter school movement.
Welcome to Charter School Radio. And now your host, Coach Dennis Snyder.
Welcome once again to Charter School Radio. It's great to have you with us today. We're broadcasting from the California Charter School Association's 20-year celebration here in beautiful San Diego at the Convention Center. We just want to kind of bring you, what our goal has been to bring you kind of a flavor of what's going on today, introduce you to some of the vendors and what they have to offer, some of the charter school leaders, some of the award winners, and we're very fortunate to have, I don't want to old timers, but actually what they refer to as a Heart Legacy Award winners, Dr. David Paterson. I keep forgetting the doctor. I didn't realize you were a doctor.
USC, go.
All right, go, fight on.
Well, I also did my undergrad at UCLA, so I have both.
Wow, so you got
make trouble both ways.
You got some big universities behind you, Don. I'm impressed. No, but David is one of those that was there from the very beginning. You've done a fantastic job, and I want to tell a little bit about the story so people can kind of know those early days, what they were really like, because a lot of people today, 20 years later, they don't really understand. So we got battles that we're fighting today, but
yes.
In comparison to where we were with just 100 charter schools back in 1992 and that cap, tell a little bit about your background, how you got involved in the first place, and then we'll gradually bring them up to date.
Sure. One of the backgrounds to charter schools in California was something called SB 1274, and there was then Superintendent Honig. It was the largest single school reform model that was happening, and I was part of the team at the California Department of Education to do that. And as part of that, we were tracking reform pieces. And there was this piece of legislation that came up that we said, we want to track it. It was a choice piece. It wasn't the charter school, the two bills that were competing. Uh-huh. And so at that point in time, at the department, we had our own private conversations about that's a really neat idea, it'll never pass. And then it did.
And it did, which was a shock for everybody really at that time.
It was an amazing shock. Yeah. And we didn't know what would happen. We actually made our plans to say, are we going to have a line out the door January 1st? And at the same point in time, I was doing my graduate work at USC, and one of my colleagues in our cohort was this guy called Don Shelby.
Know Don?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, we all do. And Don was at San Carlos, and we got talking, and Don did the homework to make sure his charter was charter number one. He made sure he got it in, and so we made sure we had a process, and Don knew about it, and his got there first.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So you were in the Department of Education at the time when this was all going down.
I had the opportunity to touch every single one of the first charters because they had to, at minimum, come in for numbering. I had a schizophrenic job. On one hand, it was about working with people who wanted to create charters, talking to them, helping them through understand it. And the other part of my job, which was a lot less fun, was the people in the department were committed to kill the idea. What do you mean you don't have to follow the rules? We're all about rules. Right. And there were people there. Every time I turned around, my job was to say, no, the law says this. We can't tell them to do it. Well, that's how I want to do it. And so I spent many a long battle saying no and actually becoming not a very popular guy.
Oh, I can imagine, yeah. No. So there you are. It's the very beginning. And I can't remember. This is good because it gets some of the history here. How long did it take them to get that first 100 charter schools? Was there a line, or did it take?
No, there wasn't.
A while?
No, it did take us a while. We didn't. It actually took some. It took. I actually, now you're making me remember, but it took more than it took years. It actually took.
Because I can remember in '96 when I kind of looked at it and wasn't sure after 30 some years in the district schools.
Yeah.
And we were Charter 109. I can still remember having to go to Sacramento and to actually appeal and
get your waiver.
Get my waiver
of the cap.
Yeah, when we were 109
yes.
at that time, and I still remember that. So obviously between 92 and 96, obviously the first 100 charter schools, somewhere in between there, all those numbers had been taken, but then they were granting waivers.
The whole waiver process was very interesting to get that through. There were some people that in the department that were supportive, but it was like an underground piece. Oh, the waiver, and so there was a lot of, for several months before when we reached the cap, nothing went forward because they were all the infighting in house about can we get a waiver? Should we ask for a waiver? And so that finally broke through. To start that. And then, of course, every time our CTA was there complaining the world is going to end, we can't do this, And so there was a constant battle, and it was just an additional burden on every applicant to say, well, I got through, am I going to get this waiver?
Right.
So it was that's when we needed to move forward, and that's where the Lempert bill started to come into play.
And to lift that cap.
To lift the cap.
Things going. All right, so here you are at the very beginning. You're kind of in on that ground floor knowing what's going on. Obviously today you're running charter schools. You could have sat back and just been part of the organization and stuff like that, but you got involved. What led you to get involved and do what you're doing today? How did you metamorphize, I guess it is a word. Is that the right word? How did you go from there to where you are today? Because I know it was incrementally, if I remember back, and you got involved in Connect, and a lot of people won't understand what Connect is, but maybe you can talk a little bit about those early days and how that got started.
As I was saying, I was at the department. At that point, I was doing the charter work. I was also on a local school board, Del Paso Heights School District, which is a part of Sacramento that is the poorest. At that point, it was the most. It was 90% African American, and it just represented the type of challenges that were faced. Then I had the opportunity to actually create the first governmental affairs function for the California Network of Educational Charters, which is the predecessor to CCSA. And back then. There was 3 full-time staff and everything else. Conferences like this weren't quite this big,
right?
But we're all volunteers. Everybody
I remember
threw
those,
in that and did all that sort of stuff. But the things I remember, for example, during that period of time was CTA then, and they probably have more now, had 9 lobbyists, 9 So every time I'd walk into an office, 5 of them been there before,
right.
4 of them been after, and we were frankly about the only fresh air that was happening in so many ways. Too much of, and I'll put out there that one of the things that charter does is there's too much belief that you can staff develop yourself to excellence or to reform when the fundamentals have to change.
Right.
You can't do top down. You have to have ownership and you have to have innovation. And large bureaucratic organizations that have monopolies
Just
aren't
can't
interested.
do that.
They're not only
don't make any
they,
waves.
They don't, and actually it's a consolidation of power.
Right.
I got it, you don't, I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. So so in those early days, Stu Brigado started the Connect, the California Connection of Educational Charters, and then obviously, like you said, it's grown into the California Charter School Association, and we've seen the movement. We're here today celebrating 20 years. We got a nice, I thought Michelle Reed did a very good job of kind of capsulating what the charter movement's all about and some things to think about. But like I said, obviously then you've been involved in there, and now what made you start your own charter school? How did you get into that?
Well,
because you could have just sat back.
Sure, and well, there are 2 things. I mean, one is Sacramento, like the U.S. Congress and all that, which I've also spent time. It's all for so many of them. It's a game. It's a game, and you win some, you lose some, and all this. For what we were doing and what we do, there are real people and real kids.
Right.
And in my own community, here I'm helping people up and down the state. I've got boys in school. My wife's a teacher, and our community deserves something. Now, it's a suburban community. It certainly has some of the clear advantages of others. But we're high performing. We were limited. They were not. They were being creative. They were locked in. Mm-hmm. And so we did what almost every charter in the beginning did, around a kitchen table. Some educators and some parents said, we've got an idea. Let's see what we can do. So while I was at the department and then when I was at Connect, I in fact invested time. And when it was, and then at a point in time when CSA began, it was frankly time for me to say, hey, I'm going to take a step back and do something real,
right,
and reconnect to the real world. And that's where Rockland Academy started.
Yep. And now tell us today, what do you have then?
Well, Rockland Academy started, our original vision was we wanted one K-8 school, and we thought it would be 250, 300 students. And today, we are 3 schools strong.
Wow.
We have two K-6 core knowledge-based schools, and then we've got Western Sierra Collegiate Academy, which is grades 6 through 12, which we had go all the way to the state board to get. And we have our own building. We built,
Unbelievable.
and we have hundreds and hundreds of students on our waiting list.
Yeah. No, well, you've done a fantastic job. And this is a good example of the charter school movement because you've been involved in all the phases coming through. You well deserve the Legacy Award, the Heart Vision Award. I'm really, happy to have you on the show today because you give some of that history. And this is something we want to make sure that we hold on to and not forget those early days. And obviously, you have fought some really tough battles over the years. And I realize we got some other ones to fight as we continue on. But that perseverance, what you've been through and everything, that's the key to it. If you really believe in what you're doing and it's about kids,
that's right,
then you can persevere and keep that focus there. So again, thank you for being on today. Congratulations on your award and keep up the great work.
Thank you very much.